I did my presentation on the documentary Free Solo, which follows the story of Alex Honnold on his ropeless climb of the mountain El Capitan. He was the first and only man to climb the face of El Capitan without any equipment. The movie goes into detail about both the climb and how Alex feels about it being filmed. So a little bit of background, obviously Alex Honnold is a rock climber, but he doesn't specifically do free climbing. He enjoys the challenge of it, but states in the film that he doesn't believe himself to be an adrenaline junkie. Alex is extremely humble in every aspect of life, from living in a van to climbing the largest face ever to be free climbed. He's sponsored by brands like the North Face, Black Diamond, La Sportiva, and a few other brands, which, if you don't know what those are, the North Face is an outdoor brand, Black Diamond and La Sportiva are climbing brands, and they're huge. He starred in a few films about climbing, done advertisements, and been on the covers of magazines. In the film, there are a large amount of constraints that you can see. The first one I'm talking about is huge. I'd consider it to be an environmental constraint, but it could also be a task constraint. So the movie has a large focus on the hesitation that Alex has about the camera crew and his climb being filmed. Originally, he didn't want it filmed at all. He thought that it was a bad idea. He was worried that the camera crew would be an environmental constraint by being in the way and not being where he agreed that they could be while he did his climb, which matters a ton when you don't have any equipment and you have your route memorized. This caused for a lot of stress, which is where it could also be considered a individual constraint or a task constraint. Another individual constraint that Alex has, is Alex has an extremely muscular back and arms, but has a relatively wiry build. This helps him when he's climbing, no matter if he has ropes or not, just with his height and how thin he looks, but the muscle that his body actually has, it's a huge advantage over someone smaller or heavier. He obviously faced environmental constraints like gravity, small surfaces, far handholds that caused him to have to jump to the next hold, time of day, and weather. The fact that they're obvious doesn't make them any less small. These are huge constraints that he had to overcome. And another constraint that's extremely obvious, but so dangerous, he had no equipment. There were no anchors to clip onto, no ropes to catch him if he fell, no carabiners to French up the side of the mountain. He had a bag of chalk to dry his hands, which, I can imagine were pretty sweaty doing that. His shoes and his hands. There was no net with the camera crew following below him. He was just on his own climbing. If he had made one tiny slip up, he would have died. So that's a huge constraint. And with that comes the constraint of your mentality, your mindset. And this quote from Alex shows just how essential it is to have a strong mind when doing a free climb. And this is what it says. The big challenge is controlling your mind, I guess, because you're not controlling your fear. You're sort of just trying to step outside of it. This intense mindset takes such a strong mind. But in the end, the positive constraints outweighed the negative constraints when it came to his success. Alex ended up conquering El Capitan completely free of equipment, a truly incredible thing to do despite all the constraints. Thank you.